You ever see somebody so full of themselves, so convinced they're above the world, that they forget how fast life can flip the script? That's exactly what went down one cold Thursday morning just outside a tech campus in San Antonio. A white BMW came roaring through the front gate like it owned the street. And behind the wheel, a woman named Carolyn Masters, VP of Brand Strategy. Full face of makeup, big sunglasses, and a smirk sharp enough to cut glass. She wasn't late, she wasn't rushing, she was aiming. Straight for a puddle the size of a kiddie pool, and a woman walking beside it, holding a lunch bag in one hand and a mop bucket in the other. Yeah, she did it on purpose. The car hit the water like a freight train. Mud, grit, and freezing cold street sludge shot up and over like a tidal wave, soaking the woman from head to toe. Her name was Nina Ellis, and at first glance, you'd think she was just another cleaner trying to get to work without bothering anyone. But this woman wasn't who they thought she was. Caroline rolled her window down just to twist the knife. "Maybe next time you'll learn where your kind belongs," she said, laughing like she just told the funniest joke in the world. "Welcome to Evergent Media, Janitor." Then she peeled off toward the executive lot like nothing happened. But Nina just stood there, drenched, shivering, humiliated, her lunch ruined. Her supplies scattered asama, Mom. Yet somehow, she didn't flinch, didn't cry, didn't scream. She just looked up, memorized Caroline's face, and walked on. One muddy footprint at a time. What Caroline didn't know, what nobody knew, was that Nina Ellis wasn't some cleaner off the street. She was Dr. Nina Ellis, founder and majority owner of Evergent Media, one of the fastest growing tech firms in the U.S., worth a clean $2.6 billion. Yeah, billion, with a B. And she'd been undercover for 3 weeks. Because she had a suspicion. Something about the culture at her company had started to rot. Employees were whispering. Morale was crumbling. HR reports were mysteriously handled. So Nina stepped off her pedestal, put on a pair of worn-out sneakers, and got to work, mopping floors, taking trash out, scrubbing toilets. Not one person recognized her, not even Caroline, who had joined the company just 18 months prior, riding the wave of her wealthy parents' connections and a resume padded with more fluff than substance. Now, Nina hadn't planned on that morning being the moment she'd reveal herself. But what Caroline did wasn't just mean, it was deliberate. It was violent. It was surgical. Like she needed to remind someone that people in uniform aren't people at all. And you know what made it worse? Nobody said anything. People saw. Oh, yeah, they watched. Some turned away. A few chuckled. One guy pulled out his phone, probably hoping it would go viral, but not a single person stepped in. Not one asked if Nina was okay. Well, almost no one. Across the lot, a quiet woman named Jasmine Rivera, a junior dev from the back-end team, had stopped in her tracks. She didn't say anything at first, but something about the way she stared. It stuck. She looked angry, ashamed, and curious. That would matter later. Back inside the building, Nina changed into a dry uniform and kept moving. She cleaned the elevator buttons Caroline had just touched, wiped the mirrors in the restroom where Caroline had just refreshed her lipstick. By 10:30 a.m., Caroline was in full performance mode, marching down the hallway with her heels clicking like gunshots. She stopped right outside the marketing wing, where a dozen employees were casually chatting. That's where she saw Nina again, and decided to double down. "Hey," she snapped, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I thought I told you to clean this hallway. It still stinks like bleach and poverty." Nina looked up, calm, silent. Caroline leaned in, smirking. "You know, if you put half as much effort into scrubbing floors as you do into looking pitiful, maybe you'd actually be good at something." There was a pause, a quiet shift in the air. You could feel the discomfort settling in, like fog. Then, Jasmine, yeah, that same dev from earlier, she stepped out of the crowd. "That's enough," she said, voice shaking a little but firm. "This isn't okay." Caroline turned to her like a shark smelling blood. "Excuse me, I don't remember asking for your opinion." Jasmine didn't back down. "I don't care. I'm saying it anyway." You could hear a pin drop. Caroline's eyes narrowed, and she said the words that sealed her fate. "Security!" she called out, pointing at Nina like she was tossing out the trash. "Get this creature out of my building." But there was no security call, no guards coming, just stunned silence. And Nina, she turned, walked to the executive elevator, and pressed the button like she owned the place. Because she did. 7 minutes later, chaos exploded on the 43rd floor. Board members started whispering as emails pinged. Phones buzzed. Caroline stormed into the conference room with her usual, "I've got this" swagger. Until she saw the woman at the head of the table. Not a janitor, not a cleaner. Dr. Nina Ellis, hair down, suit on, calm as ever. Caroline's mouth dropped open. Robert Vaughn, her little executive sidekick, nearly tripped over himself trying to sit down. And Jasmine, she was standing in the corner, eyes wide, mouthing, "No way." Nina stood up slowly, looked around the room, and said, "For the past 3 weeks, I've been working alongside the people most of you don't even notice. The people you ignore, can step over, laugh at." She turned toward Caroline. "And this morning, I found out exactly what you think of them." Nobody dared speak. Nina kept going. "I founded this company with a single belief, that dignity isn't earned by title, but by character. But somewhere along the way, we forgot that." She played the footage. Yeah, the footage. Every second of Caroline's verbal assault was captured on high-def security cams. Her smug voice echoed through the room. "Get down on your knees," Caroline had said, "and clean it like your life depends on it." When it ended, Nina turned to the board. "I've reviewed the numbers. I've reviewed the culture. I've reviewed the way people like Caroline treat those they think are powerless." She paused, then looked Caroline dead in the eye. "Caroline Masters, your employment with Evergent Media is terminated, effective immediately. Security will escort you out, and our legal team will be in contact regarding the harassment suit." Caroline stood frozen, no smug smile, no smart comeback. Just pale skin and trembling hands. When she finally opened her mouth, it was only to whisper, "You're making a mistake." But Nina, she just turned away. Then, just before anyone could catch their breath, Nina looked across the room. "Jasmine Rivera," she said. The young dev blinked. "You stood up for someone when you thought it might cost you your job. That's leadership. That's courage. That's who we should be." The room burst into a wave of applause, but Nina wasn't finished. "Starting today," she said, "we're restructuring. Executive bonuses are frozen. Leadership performance will now be tied directly to employee satisfaction. And once a month, every VP, director, and board member will spend 1 full day shadowing support staff, including myself." She took a breath, softer now. "You can't fix a culture from the top down. You fix it by remembering who you are, where you came from, and who you stepped over to get there." And that was that. Caroline got escorted out of the building she thought she owned. Jasmine got promoted. Nina stayed true to her word every month. She still puts on a uniform and works beside the people Caroline tried to erase. Sometimes in the call center, sometimes in shipping, but always grounded. And rumor has it, the first time she walked back into the break room after all that, someone had written on the whiteboard in big black marker, "Respect is the new currency. Bend it well." Now, here's the question for you. Do you think Caroline deserved to be fired on the spot? Or was that too harsh? And should more CEOs do what Nina did, go undercover, get their hands dirty, and really see what their companies have become? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was it justice? Or just a power play? And hey, if you believe in treating people right, no matter what uniform they wear, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs a reminder. The people you step on today might just be the ones signing your paycheck tomorrow.